I just want to talk a little bit about how you can help make the world a better place. Just by showing love to people, just by selflessly taking the time to tell someone how well they've served you in their job, by truly appreciating their service. I just see this a lot. I see a lot of people who are taking advantage of their employees, and they don't take the time to show their employees their appreciation. And I'm not talking about like employee of the month type of awards. I'm talking about genuine love and appreciation shown to them every day. Because I see it like this, you guys. If you're at a job and you're doing the best that you can to fulfill all the duties there, and if your boss is not acknowledging your existence, like if they're just looking at you like a number and they're not acknowledging you as being a human being and a heart and a person with who is a soul and a person with feelings, I just see people getting depressed and bringing it home to their families, and because they're not being appreciated and encouraged at work and complimented on the work that they're doing at work by their bosses, by their employers, that they're just discouraged. And so they go home and they take it home with them, and they take it very personal, even if people aren't talking about it. Like, this happens in the world. I see it a lot. I've seen it affect families. I've seen it affect people in a deep, deep way. And it's just really sad, because I just see that people could really be helping each other in a deep way and building God's kingdom in the way of just appreciating one another and really taking the time to tell someone what good they've done for you, and to show them that their service matters to you. Like, for example, anytime I go to the gas station, or if I'm going to the grocery store, or if I'm at a restaurant and I'm being served, by the employees in some way, if I go up to the cashier and just pay for what we had just done there, and just pay for my groceries and things like that, Jesus just naturally put it in my heart, loaded upon my heart, to treat the employees with love and kindness, and to tell them what good of a job they're doing, and to thank them sincerely. And he's just put that knowing within me naturally to call them by their name if they have like a name tag, and to approach them as a soul who needs to be acknowledged and appreciated and loved and encouraged. So I've just naturally learned to, compliment them in spirit and truth, and to thank them for what they did for my family and I, and how they served us, and what good of a job they're doing, and there's times when Jesus will sit down and we'll write out cards together. It could be like a love note from God, or some verses, or just anything that God wants to say that day, and we put it on a card, and he'll tell me who to give it to. So usually I end up giving it to people that are at the store, like the cashiers and things like that, and in the drive-through windows, at the mall, anywhere, you guys, the gas station, wherever. If there's someone there who is serving you, it's just loving and kind, and it's God's heart to show them love and gratitude and thankfulness for their service. So I just naturally give them a card, and I'll call them by their name, and I'll say, thank you, thank you, Betty, for doing that for us today. You did a really good job. And I'll smile, and then tell her that Jesus loves her, or whatever Jesus wants me to say in that moment. And it's amazing to see how these people, how their faces light up afterwards. And because it's like Jesus just shows me that they're being ignored for the most part. Their employers are not showing thankfulness and gratitude towards their services and towards their job every day. So it's like I see all these spirits. These people are spirits, they're souls, and a lot of them are hanging their heads low, even though they're still continuing to work hard. They're just not being filled up with encouragement and love from most people. So Jesus will just send me to a person in that way to edify them and encourage them however he leads. And then once they get a card or a word of encouragement or whatever Jesus leads me to say to them, their faces light up, you guys, and they're so happy and thankful, like sincerely thankful, and they'll be like, oh, thank you so much, like nobody's ever made me a card before, or what's this for? Like a lot of people act shocked. They're like, what did I do to deserve something like this? And I'll just tell them, have a beautiful day. Jesus appreciates you and your hard work, and so do I, whatever Jesus has me say. So I just want to encourage you to do the same. I want to encourage you to plant seeds of love like that, however Jesus leads. When you're at the gas station, when you're paying for your gas, when you're in the workplace, show these people some respect and show them thankfulness for what they do, because God has given everybody a gift and a job and a duty to help this world function. And even though like Jesus isn't in the whole like world system of money and all of that, but it's part of the world and how it functions, and it's part of it. So Jesus gives everyone gifts and talents, and when everybody pitches in, it helps the world go round. But when people aren't showing love and appreciation to each other, the world's going to fall apart, and that's why you see it falling apart, because people aren't taking the time to reach out to others and to lend a helping hand or an encouraging word, or to just tell them thank you and to show them God's love, So like I just see that just doing a little act of kindness like that is a huge deal to God. It's not little. It's not. And it's a huge deal to that person, even if that person doesn't show it in that moment. Like, they will remember what you said and did. They will remember that you took the time out of your day to show them love, to appreciate what they do for you. And I'm talking about jobs like, if you see a janitor in a bathroom in a restaurant or something, or even the waitress, and the waiters, and just people who serve you, they need to know that what they have done matters, because they're working really hard, and they need to be acknowledged. God wants them acknowledged. He wants them honored. And in return, that will lead that person to be filled up with joy and hope and happiness, and hopefully they would cry out to Jesus and would want to do the same to others, because they would know how it feels to be ignored and then to have someone make their day by thanking them for their job, for their service. So it would make them feel good, and it would make them want to do the same for someone else. And that's one thing that Jesus has really taught me, is to treat others the way that you yourself would want to be treated. And if you do that, then you'll be naturally obeying God's heart in all things. If you love Him first, and if you treat others the way you yourself want to be treated, you will see heaven manifest within your heart. And because you will be manifesting heaven, you will be manifesting God's heart if you obey those two things. And so like, just put yourself in people's shoes. If you're at a restaurant and you see a waitress having a really hard day, and she's really down and depressed, like, she may be putting on a smile for you and just to do the best that she can, but you can really help her, however God leads. Like, I know you have to use common sense, especially if you're a man, a married man for that matter, and you want to encourage a waitress. I mean, you have to respect your wife. You can't flirt with her. I mean, there's a difference in being kind to someone and flirting with them. So just go to Jesus for this discernment. But I'm speaking of everybody, like, just use wisdom in talking to the opposite gender if you're married. Always remember to respect your spouse in those moments, but to encourage your spouse together to thank a person for their service. Like, you can thank that waitress together as a family and really just make her day. God would have you, like, reach out to her in that moment and just give her a card and say thank you, and just tell her what good of a job she did and how good the food was and how good her service is. And just by doing that, you would be surprised at how you may save her life. If she was suicidal, or if she was just depressed, or, I mean, maybe because of your love, she would change her mind about doing something that God didn't want her to do in that moment, or whatever. It just depends. But God knows. He knows all the details, and He will use anybody that's willing and anybody that will take the time to be selfless and to put others first and to really take in their surroundings and look at the people around them and ask God what that person needs. Like, if you're in the workplace, or if you and your family are at a restaurant, or if you're at a grocery store or whatever, ask Jesus what the workers need around you. Like, if they need a word of encouragement, if they just need a smile, just ask Jesus, and He'll give you the knowledge of their heart in that moment and what they need, and He'll lead you when to speak to someone and when not to, or however He leads you. It's a good witness for God, and it would be teaching your family to love in the same way that God does, to step out and actually walk in the spirit and love of God in that moment. And that would do a lot. That would teach your children and your spouse to do the same, and it would convict them if they aren't seeking Jesus for themselves. Jesus uses love. He doesn't waste a drop of it. Everything gets used in a moment. It's just so important to draw near to Jesus and really just put yourself in other people's shoes. Like, if you're on an airplane, if you're traveling, if you're on a bus, if you're on a train, I don't know what the situation is, but wherever you are, and if there's people around you that are serving you, take the time to thank them in spirit and in truth, however Jesus leads. And if you're an employer, treat your employees with respect. Encourage them daily, show them love and kindness, and treat them as you yourself would want to be treated. And God will honor you. I just wanted to add that I'm not saying this to boast. I'm not. Like, Jesus just wants me to share this with you so that you can do the same thing, because this is what's pleasing to Him. Let's just say that you have a gas meter person who comes by to read the gas meter. Jesus would have you greet that person, and however He would lead, and to encourage them in some way, but at least to thank them for their hard work. There's been times when Jesus has even led me to make a card for an old man that comes by, and I remember waiting for him one day, and he didn't show up usually at the time that he does, so Jesus had me look out for him for like 3 hours, and that was like my command for that day, for that morning, was to watch for the meter reader, old man, and to make sure that he got this card, and then to ask him if he wanted water because it was hot that day. And so, like, it just depends on the situation, but ask Jesus for wisdom. So if somebody's coming by to, like, fix your sink or your toilet, or your plumbing, or if you're having a whole team work on putting a roof on your house, it's so important, you guys, to treat these people with God's love and with His kindness, and to put yourself in their shoes and really just treat them the way that God would want you to be treated, and them to be treated. Ask them if they want something to drink. Tell them what good of a job they're doing and how much you appreciate their service, and really just show genuine thankfulness. And that will make Jesus smile, and more than likely they will too. And it'll really help them to want to work harder, and it'll just help be a motivator for them, and also not just to get them to work hard for you, but because you sincerely are thankful, because if it weren't for them, you wouldn't be having a roof over your head. You would be having leaks still, or you know what I'm saying? Like, all these jobs matter. There's not one job that's too small for God to look and to look at and to appreciate. Like, God, there's no such thing as a job that goes unnoticed. Like, and I'm talking about like wholesome good jobs. I'm not talking about like being a bartender, because that's not God's will for anybody. But I mean, like the jobs where, the trash people, the people that come and pick up your trash or your lawn clippings every week, or the recyclable people. These jobs matter, okay? They matter. And then the people who come by your house to cut your grass for you every week or every other week or whatever it is. These jobs matter, because if these people weren't doing these jobs, then you would be in need and you would be without something. So it's just love and appreciation. It's God's love to show them thankfulness, sincere thankfulness, and God will reward you for that. Like, and don't just do it don't do it to be marking off some sort of list of good works. Really do it because you want to, because God knows if you want to or not. Like, and the heart that pleases him, the heart that naturally wants to please him, is the heart that wins his heart. And God's not looking for people who are going to write like some sort of to-do list of good works. He's looking for people to walk by his spirit and to be like the wind, and to love in the way that he commands every day, to love others in the way that he commands. And that's how a person builds God's kingdom. They do it with him. They don't write out this blueprint of to-do list of building his kingdom. God and his people work together every day. Jesus says that, he is pleased with the joyful giver. If people are giving with a grudged heart, if people are giving because they think they have to, and they sincerely don't really care to please God or to help that person, but they think that they're just marking something off a to-do list, that's not going to please Jesus at all. And I know that there's a lot of things that God will command that are not easy to do, as far as like loving those who are difficult to love. And it does take work to love others, but it's not about marking off something on a list. It's about sincerely wanting to help that person and to please Jesus. That should be the motivator, regardless of whether or not it's a difficult thing to do in that moment or not. Like, the heart that pleases Jesus will want to do it, even if it is hard and difficult for them, and he will give them the strength to do that. So I just want to encourage you to draw near to Jesus and start building his kingdom with him, in spirit and in truth. God bless.